Hey everybody, this is Eve. Thanks for tuning into my YouTube channel. This channel is dedicated to exploring the occult and various, what I would say, occult topics that we find in the, the conscious community or the new age, whatever you want to call it. And looking at many of the misconceptions about those things and putting light on what they really mean. You know, when you think of the occult, you think about the hidden, and the matrix is not going to give you any hidden information. All right, it's information you have to really dig for, and the information truly is within yourself. Okay, and so I look at the occult and I look at, different metaphysical topics from many different angles and try to bring that together to reach revelation, okay, about these things. This video is about the Age of Aquarius, okay, the Age of Aquarius. If you are an advocate of the Age of Aquarius, you are not going to like this video at all. At all. In fact, I plan on getting a whole lot of pushback about this video because the Age of Aquarius has been promoted and talked up as if it's like the most wonderful thing that, is to bring in the golden age and so forth. And so, that's not what it is at all. That's not what it is at all. And so some people are like, well, that's judging, and you say you're not someone who judges, but Age of Aquarius really ultimately will come to judgment for mankind. Okay. So I'm gonna just get right into it. When you think about Aquarius, right, or to understand the Age of Aquarius, you really have to understand astrology in a way. Astrology has to be a prerequisite for you. Okay. Now, we know that there's a zodiac, right? There's a zodiac, and Aquarius is one of the avatars of the zodiac. And so when I say avatar, like when you incarnate into a body that has energy systems, right, that are called chakras, and they're planets that are connected to each of those chakras, okay? And so when you are put into a body, you incarnate, you actually are made into a personality. So you can think of, for example, like the spirit is water, right? But when you put water into a container, it takes upon the shape of that container, right? So if I put water in a glass, it will take on the shape of that glass. Or if I put water in a cup, it will take on the shape of that cup. Or if I put it in a vase, it doesn't matter. The thing is that the water will take on the shape of the container that you put it in, okay? So Aquarius is a restriction. It's just a container, just like all the other signs of the zodiac, such as Pisces and Aries and, Leo and, all of these various, avatars of the zodiac. Okay, and so when you look at the container, okay, of Aquarius, it is a sign that is very psychological. A very psychological sign, okay? People who are born under the sign of Aquarius are psychologicals. They do not, they are detached from their emotions. And so people tend to think of Aquarius as the opposite because they see that it's a, what is it? It's a man with water, right? So it's a man pouring water down upon the earth or whatever the case is and pouring out water. And so really, Aquarius possesses water, okay, possesses water. The water is within, but they are not in touch with their water. They're not in touch with their emotions or their feelings or what have you. And so the Age of Aquarius is where humankind reaches a crescendo in their psychological mind, and they're not in touch with their emotions, okay? The psychological mind just reaches a crescendo, and it's like there's a whole lot of disconnectedness and consciousness being segmented, okay? And we see that in the world today, right? As we're going towards the Age of Aquarius, mankind is becoming less emotional. And especially with technology, the sign of Aquarius is about technology. And so technology makes you very segmented. Like when you see people go to eat dinner, You know, they usually aren't talking to each other. They're on their cell phones, or even in like work meetings, right? People are on their cell phones or their computers and so forth. You know, there's not a whole lot of human to human contact. You know, instead of like texting people about how we feel, or talking to people about how we feel, you know, we text them. And a lot of times when you're texting people, the emotional aspect of what you're trying to convey gets lost in translation, okay? And so it doesn't come off the way that you want it to come off. Like for me, I'm a very sarcastic person. So when I text people, like, you know, I really, quote unquote, don't necessarily mean a lot of the things I say. It's said in jest, or it's said in a way that's like funny or cheeky. But, you know, the thing is that when it comes to this technological age and how we communicate with one another, the emotions are really, you know, put on the back burner. Okay. And so this is the age of Aquarius. And so when you look at people who have a whole lot of Aquarius in their chart, like say someone who has like an Aquarius moon or something like that, Aquarius moons are very psychological, and sometimes these people can commit suicide. Sometimes these people can commit suicide because they've reached such a psychological plateau, and they're so thinking about, you know, various things. They're thinkers, you know, and they're so afraid of their emotions. You know what I mean? If they have emotions, they're like, oh, I don't really know how to process this. You know, they find it very difficult to process emotions because it can't be necessarily quantified. And one thing about emotions is your God self, okay? Because emotions can't be quantified. Like we can make robots, but we can't make them really have emotions, okay? It doesn't translate like a human being's emotions will translate. And so the whole purpose of the Age of Aquarius is to depress the emotion out of the human being, to replace it with technology, to replace it with psychology, the psychological mind, the psyche. And this actually is an imbalance in consciousness. Okay, this is imbalance. This is not right. This is where, you know, you're reaching like Kundalini rising really into the psychological mind. So this is pushing mankind away from the soul, or the solar plexus, right? So the root chakra, the solar plexus, up to the psyche, the psychological mind, until, you know, mankind actually renounces the material and is out of the body, okay? And so Kundalini rising eventually results in judgment. And so people are like, oh, you know, the Age of Aquarius is so wonderful. Okay, it's so wonderful. And, you know, it's a time where, you know, it's the golden age, and, you know, it's supposed to last for a certain amount of years. You know, I think it was like 2,000, over 2,000. I just asked Alexa. Let me ask her again. Alexa, what is the Age of Aquarius?
According to Wikipedia, the Age of Aquarius, in astrology, is either the current or forthcoming astrological age, depending on the method of calculation. Astrologers maintain that an astrological age is a product of the Earth's slow precessional rotation and lasts for 2,160 years, on average.
Okay. Alexa, shut up. All right, so she's saying that it lasts for what, 2,160, you know, years, something years. And so that goes to show that the Age of Aquarius is finite. It's not infinite, it's finite. And so when it comes to time, time is related to what planet? To Saturn, right? And what is Saturn? Satan. So, I mean, I'm really putting a lot of these dots together to let you know that the Age of Aquarius is not the absolute. The absolute is the sun, okay? Like when you study Egyptian mythology, all right, in Egyptian culture, what did they worship? Did they worship Aquarius? Did they worship Pisces? Did they worship Aries or Leo, or, you know, Libra, or you know, Taurus or what have you? Did they worship those things? They worshiped the sun, didn't they? The sun is the absolute. Without the sun, there is no Aquarius. There is no Pisces. There is no Libra. There is no Taurus. There is no Aries. There is nothing without the sun. The sun is the absolute. So when you think about the sun, you think of the life, life to the universe. And all of those avatars are rays of the sun. All right. So the sun can express itself as Aquarius, or the sun can express itself as Pisces, or the sun can express itself as Taurus, or whatever the case is. But ultimately, it comes back to the sun. The sun is the nucleus that gives life to all in the universe, okay? So when you're hearing about the age of Aquarius and how it's so wonderful and it's the golden age, this is the age of the devil. This is the age of the unconscious. This is the age of what you would call an expression of consciousness, but not the consciousness in and of itself. It is not the sun. It is a age that has been created by extraterrestrials, okay? Now, I know people are just like, oh, she's getting on that crazy shit about extraterrestrials. Extraterrestrials are not exactly what you think they are, okay? Now, you have to break down words. A lot of the stuff that are fed to us in the Matrix is to scare you and make you fearful. Extraterrestrials just means these are pockets of consciousness that are beyond the body, okay? If you think about the universe as a mind, one mind expressing itself as many people and many things, all right? Extraterrestrials represent those aspects that have not found connection to the body. Extra means beyond. So if you break down a word, extra means beyond. Terrestrial means the land. So they're beyond the land. They're beyond the earth. They're beyond the body. They're in the ethers, okay? They don't have any connection to a body. Okay, these are examples of what you would call reincarnation. Look at the word reincarnation. Re means again. In means not. Karn means body. And nation is just a nation of people. So this is the sun, really, not finding connection to the land, to the body. Experiencing Kundalini rising and leaving the body every incarnation and not being in the body, not finding connection to the body, reincarnation. Okay? So reincarnation means to not be extraterrestrial, but to find union with the body. All right? To bring heaven to earth. All right? In this case, hell. Because, earth has devolved, it's such a desolate state at this point. But this is an extraterrestrial agenda. The age of Aquarius is the agenda of aliens, of these expressions of consciousness that represent reincarnation. Okay? It's not good. So, going back to the Egyptians and how they worship the sun, they worship the absolute. Aquarius is not the absolute. It's not. It's to take Jesus's inheritance. That is what the age of Aquarius represents. To take the inheritance of the sun. So people who are, advocates about, the age of Aquarius and saying that it's a wonderful thing or whatever the case is. No, the age of Aquarius is finite. It will end in, how many thousand years. And then consciousness will shift back. Because one thing about consciousness, you have to find balance. So this goes into reincarnation again. Whereas, in reincarnation, you die, you leave the body, you go to heaven. But in heaven, there aren't any restrictions, okay? In heaven, you can do whatever you want and work out the restrictions that you had in physicality when you were an ego, when you were in the body. But eventually, because you get to do whatever you want, you'll be back in the body after those 2,000 some odd years. So you'll get a break, but still you have to reincarnate. This is your age of Aquarius. This is when the psychological mind reaches new heights. And mankind will go insane. I mean, look at it now. We are really too psychologically evolved. This is an imbalance in consciousness. We don't have interconnectedness with one another. The more technology we see, the worse off we are. Everything is deteriorating. Everything. This is your age of Aquarius. The planet of Aquarius is, or I should say the sign of Aquarius is influenced by certain planets, all right? And so astrologers, most astrologers, I think, they believe that Aquarius is influenced by Saturn, which is Satan in a devolved state, okay? And so Saturn is the planet of material. So you can see, our world is very material. Everything is about the material. Our music, when you turn on television, it's about the material. The churches, when you go to church and ask for a blessing, it's not to do with anything else but the material and getting material blessings, either about the body or, some type of monetary blessing or something like that. You can't go anywhere without people talking about money and talking about the body and so forth, and talking about this is material, okay? So the age of Aquarius is very, in lots of ways, very materialistic, okay? Very materialistic. And also, very eccentric, because in our particular, era, what have you, a lot of things are about novelty. And Aquarius is a very eccentric sign. So it's a higher octave of Saturn, I would say. And so when you look at all the other planets rotate, in a regular orbit or what have you. They have like a similar orbit. But Aquarius is erratic. It like rotates on its side and shit. It's something going on with it. Something is wrong with it. It's not normal. It doesn't act normal. They don't know why it's acting like that. So Aquarius is ruled by Uranus and Saturn. Why would you be happy about an age of a planet that's acting crazy? Okay, and I'm not saying that people who are Aquarius are crazy per se. Aquarians are very, they're humanitarians, and, they love humanity. They want to, save humanity and, or what have you, but, they don't, they go against the grain. They're very eccentric. And although they love humanity and so forth, they can go quite insane from thinking too much. Okay? And so this whole world is about thinking, and we're not human thinkers, we're human beings. And so there has to be a balance to consciousness. And so, Aquarius is the 11th sign of the zodiac. And so after the 11th sign, there's the 12th sign of Pisces. And Pisces usually brings that balance back to Aquarius, okay? Because Aquarius is holding water, right, which is emotions, although they're not in touch with their emotions because they don't know how to process it. But then Pisces, which is associated with Jesus, brings back the emotions, okay? But it crucifies the consciousness because it's too much emotion. The emotions are not realized, okay, within the lifetime of the Aquarian. Okay, so like my mother is an Aquarius, and she is incredibly masculine and unemotional. My mother is not a very emotional person, in terms of being loving and nurturing and caring. I never had that from my mother, but she will do anything to help people. She always was someone, if someone's hungry, to feed them or, give them things, to clothe them. Like if I had friends or whatever that would come to the house, she would make sure that they would have, something to eat. And, she believed in helping other people. But when it came to her, interpersonal relationships and friends, she never really had friends. She very seldom, she didn't have a connection to her daughter, to me. She didn't really have an intimate connection with me or my sister, more so my brother. She did, have more of an affinity with men because really she's a man. My mother's consciousness is very polarized. She's very masculine. And so, she resonated more on the frequency with men. But, as far as her, relationships to other people, intimate relationships, even with her husband, my dad, they never had a really great relationship intimately. So it's like, Aquarians are very detached with their emotions. I think because they have a lot of emotions, they kind of help people in a detached type of way, so they don't really have to get in tune with their own emotions on a personal level, and to really think about, how they relate to people intimately. You know, it's very very paradoxical type of avatar to play. Very paradoxical. What is it? Very paradoxical. Just sign. Like I said, Uranus is very weird. You know what I mean? And oftentimes too, like depending upon the degree of Aquarius that you have in your natal chart, some people Aquarius, they look very strange. You know what I mean? Like they dress different, and they don't want to be like the world. They don't want to um they want to change the world and make the world bend to what they want it to be, as opposed to them bend to the world. And I can respect that in lots of ways. You know what I mean? I feel like you should be able to be an individual within the world, but in the same sense, have that balance to be a part of the world. So not to be separate from the world, be a part of it and have that balance. But psychologically, they're on some other type of level, you know what I mean, type of thing. Being the 11th sign of the zodiac, Aquarians, they have a whole lot of karma, coming from other lifetimes, okay? And so, when you have a lot of karma coming from other lifetimes, it's very difficult to be in touch with the emotions because, when you're carrying past life karma, your unconscious mind remembers a lot of things. And so the unconscious mind, although it acts like it's there to help you, right? It's really not. It hurts you. It's like a double-edged sword. So like say for example, if you I don't know, like say for example, if you're walking down a street and then, there's a dog that that's in a fence that, catches you off guard and just starts barking or something like that. Okay? And you remember that. You're like, "Oh, I got startled or scared by that dog that barked, at me when I was walking down the street." And so you say to yourself, "Oh, okay, whatever." So when you walk down that street again, you're aware of it. You're like, "Okay, that dog lives at that house and I'm not going to worry about that." Or whatever the case is, I already know that that dog is there and I'm not going to be afraid again. But the unconscious mind will record that, okay? It will record that, and in another lifetime, it might associate it with a situation like that you were afraid. And it brings back that feeling, but you're not quite sure what it is. And they call it intuition, but intuition in lots of ways is bullshit, okay? It's like, for example, in another lifetime, say you had an interaction with someone that was really bad. Say like if I was the mother of an Aquarian and I was really a horrible mother, to this person. And then they met me in a new lifetime, okay? And so in a new lifetime, they may feel like, I don't really like this person. There's something about, I just don't like this person. I want to stay away from this person. But the unconscious realizes who that person is, who I am, okay? And so the unconscious intuitively tells the consciousness, the ego, that person's bad news. Stay away from that person. But it doesn't tell the ego that in 1892, whatever, that person was your mom and they abused you, whatever the case is. It just says to be leery of that person. And so the thing is that Aquarians oftentimes miss out on intimate relationships because there's so much past life karma in the unconscious, because they're the 11th sign of the zodiac, that they can't make a personal connection to anyone because they have past things with everybody and everyone and everything. You know what I mean? Like they've done it over and over and over and over again. It's kind of like, I mean, what are you going to do? Are you going to be a victim of your karma and your intuition? Or whatever, in terms of how your unconscious is connecting to all the past experiences with these things and these people? Are you going to be free from your karma? And you're going to live life in the present moment and not really by so much your intuition and how you perceive things, it's not a sign that allows the ego to truly be anchored in the body. It's more to be psycho or psychological. And, that's an imbalance that can prevent you from, that can make you go crazy. That can make you go crazy. So, I really wanted to, focus on, the age of Aquarius and how it's not what you think it is. It's not what you think it is. It's not something you can see the imbalance in mankind. We have all these conveniences and all this technology and so forth, but we don't have emotions. If you're texting someone and saying, "Will you marry me?" How is that romantic? How is that have any humanity within it? How? You know what I mean? When you're, conveying your feelings not face to face, but on the computer, you're having sex on the computer. I mean, that is robotic. That's robotic to have sex on the computer through chats and stuff like that. That's not human to human contact. To meet people, online and to shop for people like they're like things. Okay, this person has the type of bank account I want. This person has the type of personality I like. This person likes the same type of food that I like. Okay, now I can meet that person. No. We look at these things as if they're conveniences, but this is Aquarius. This is Aquarian energy. This is energy where the emotions are taken out of humanity and we are pushed into the psychological mind. And so things are becoming inorganic. Cyborg. That's what the Age of Aquarius is about, cyborgs. And it's not about people at all. Okay, it's about computers. It's about pressing out the emotional aspect of humanity and making humanity bots. How is that wonderful? How is that balanced? It's not. It's not balanced. So, I really wanted to, just kind of bring in those particular elements or whatever when it comes to Aquarius and, really giving you a little bit of information, background information about the zodiac and the energy of Aquarius and Saturn and Uranus and, how that corresponds to, really the sun and, the sun being Jesus and the sun being the absolute and Aquarius being bullshit. And so I'd like to end the video on that note, guys. So, I will see you in my next.